was planning on starting this video Sunday. That's when I'm going back down to the farm to rip all this down, clean it, put it back in the bay. But part of what I'm doing during that 4-link is I'm doing 2-inch spacers. I decided to do them today because I'm going to a show on Saturday, which is tomorrow. Today's Friday. And I decided why not just go ahead and put on my spacers before I clean the truck. So just to give it something a little bit different. It needed spacers anyway. It was a little skinny. Plus, when I started turning, these tires were grabbing these reservoirs, and the normal tire wouldn't have done that. But I got all these lugs on here, so these 2-inch spacers are gonna get rid of that. And I know my hubs aren't gonna like it, but I'd rather wear out a hub than rip a shock reservoir off. It's definitely a good bit of water now. Should have done this from the beginning. Oh yeah, by the way, I don't even think I said these are 2-inch spacers from Bora.
I don't want to.
Hey buddy, you're missing something back there. So this is a sliding back glass out of a 2007 Nissan Titan, right? But we just found out we're gonna have to trim a little bit of the cab on both sides, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be too hard. We've seen this done on a couple crew cabs, and apparently they don't have this issue where it's hitting the side of the cab. So it must be something different with the extended cabs. I guess it's just the crew cabs where they just fits perfectly, which is weird. That doesn't make any sense to me, but. All right, we got a line on both sides of the window, what we need to cut, and we got our holes marked on the back side of this for these little pins that have to go through there to put the nuts on the back side. Still got to clean it up and round this corner off, but we're gonna put the window back in and make sure we get that line right. Well, it's in for the most part. We don't really have to worry about any of these lines not matching up or not being perfect because we have that filler. So now all we got to do is we got to seal all this empty cab space that we cut out right there. All right, we're having a little competition. He took a piece of metal that we cut out of that corner, put it back in there, and is trying to Bondo around it. I'm using spray foam, and then we'll Bondo my side after I sand it and everything. So we're gonna see whose side looks better when we're done.
Don't judge us.
It's the first time we've done both of these things. We would just tack a piece of metal in because it's not a hard bend to replicate, but his welder is down at my farm, and he don't want to go down there. So this is what we're doing. His is starting to somewhat make sense now. Mine's still dry, and then I gotta start down there. I know I should have started from the bottom with foam. I know you're supposed to do that, but this was as far in as I can get the tape from the speaker hole. So I just started from there and worked my way up. I'm gonna give it like 30 more minutes and then start on the bottom and connect it. It's already dry. First layer I did, now that's starting to cure. And then all I'll have to do is cut out my line, sand it just a little bit, get it to the exact shape I want, and then start bondoing it. I did cut this out a little bit sooner than I meant to, but it still gives you plenty to bondo off of. It's not exactly how I wanted it, but the bondo is what we're shaping anyway, not the foam. So the foam just gives it something to stick to. So I guess I can't complain too much, but his side is basically done. We'll see what it looks like in a year.
Yeah, I bought my girl like a really nice set of this. She got mad, go pin. So she does the hard. Yeah, I don't know if you want to that one. So what made him decide to do this?
I would not recommend doing this yourself unless you feel pretty confident you're good with bondo or at least welding, and you can tack in some pieces of metal in there and then bondo over that. I did a little clearance issue after we made this seal a little bit bigger to cover all the body lines. Now we're having to trim a little bit more. Same on that side. So there's a little bit of pockets we got to fill back in. All right, I think my side's good. I was only hidden down here at the bottom a little bit. The only problem is, should have foamed it. Mine has no gap down the side, which is all I'm hoping for. Trim's gonna cover the bottom almost perfectly. We just gotta pick it up just a hair, seal in the top. We're gonna foam his side tonight, let it sit overnight, a couple of layers of bondo on the top, thin layer bondo on my side, and then sand it down smooth to the shape we got now, and we should be good and ready to paint it and seal it. For the first time either one of us have ever done any body work, it's coming out pretty good. And before any of y'all start commenting, we know we're doing it wrong, okay? We're just figuring things out as we go. If we had a welder, we would do it the right way. But right now it's a little bit too far away, so this is the way we're doing it. Got a slight gap here that we're trying to correct, but other than that, all right, window's finally in. Now we can slide the center part in and figure out what we're doing about mounting the track.
These ears were pushed forward, so all I did was bend them back and twist the holes out.
You gonna do that because it was hitting the seat right here?
Yeah. I think this right here was like this much further out, so I did that.
And he hit this with a hammer.
Yeah.
And now the window clears. So he's talking about he's gonna paint all this back here, so it's not, you know, just metal. And then this is still exposed. That'll all be black. You gotta buy another trim piece for up here because I kind of ran the other one over. It's the same color as my Ranger, and I didn't see it on my hood, and it fell off.
This metal tabs that are here, I kind of notched it out.
Oh yeah, those are those metal tabs we made for the bottom.
This is only temporary too. I'm gonna eventually just round it out to be smooth.
I had to work today, so I wasn't here, but this is what he was doing all day, was making these brackets for that center track to bolt to. And then a little bit of metal left over to mount the motor to. Right about there. That's how it sat in the Titan. And the only thing left is to wire it up. Heck yeah, that thing's fast.
Yeah, it's got 18 volts on it. It's supposed to be a 12 volt.
Oh, okay. Probably shouldn't do that too much then.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. What was that metal sound, by the way?
The screws are hitting my Linux right there.
Oh, just the screws are hitting the Linux?
Yeah.
Heard.
That's the only thing that hits.
Oh, also, these little self-tappers. See, there's only like one in here and there's two on the bottom. He said he's gonna take those out and drill the holes and bolt it in. But for now, that was just temporary to mock everything up to make sure it worked.
I'm gonna put a catch can here in between this gap that I made. So when it drips from in here, that all just go to the floor and be a hole drilled in the bottom. And then seal it up on the bottom so no water comes out anywhere else.
Eventually, this will all be covered up, which it's already covered behind the seat. You're not gonna see any of this, but just to make it look cleaner, cover it up. Most of the top will be covered with the trim piece that goes across, but there might be a little lip right here. We can see the nuts and stuff, so might have to figure out something about that too. Because I'm assuming it's gonna follow this line right here. That's what I was assuming you would do. If you put another piece of L bracket over here, you can make this whole thing a square. And that would definitely stiffen it up. It'll be easy. You got the hard part done already.
Yeah.
It's supposed to rain tomorrow too, so I'll be able to tell if it's watertight then. Yep, so once you trim those screws back a little bit, it'll stop making that metal noise. Either that or just let it keep rocking and it'll start rubbing off the Linux a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you'll be fine. This is what he was talking about, either a catch can or some drain plugs for, because that's 100% gonna leak. It might not be too bad, but it's definitely gonna let water in from right there. It won't be too hard to redirect that water to go right back outside the cab.